What we're going to be talking about today are all things that I've faced throughout our Datsun build. Now, most car guys and car gals can trace back throughout their lives what really made them become so into cars. Now, it could be a movie, it could be someone in their life, it could be an event that happened. For me, it's a combination of all these things. Working in the garage with my dad at a young age, Fast and Furious, Gone in 60 Seconds, all these movies, and going to the track and seeing what potential cars actually have and what magnificent pieces of machinery they are, just over time, just made me into a crazy car fanatic. Now, this will eventually lead to someone wanting to dive into owning their own car, specifically building their car and making it into something that's their own, that their passion. You can see the car and you can see what kind of passion they have for cars and their own personality coming out into these cars. But I have to say, it's not all butterflies and rainbows. There are some, not really downsides, but there is some trade-offs that you are gonna have to deal with and encounter. So let's get into it. There's three main things that I'm going to be talking about today. So let's start with the first two, time and money. You're going to need time to get the car ready. It's not going to be something that gets done overnight. It's going to take some time, and you have to kind of get a grips on that, and you have to make sure that you understand that everything is not going to go smoothly. There is going to be pushbacks, many pushbacks, let's say many pushbacks. But it is something that you're going to have to wrap your head around before you jump and dive into it. And money is something that it will sneak up on you. Like every little part, every little seal, every bolt, every nut, every washer costs money. It will add up. You won't think of it. If you look at it as a unit cost, it might only cost you 30 cents or $5 for a bolt or $15 for a gasket. But if you add all that together over months and months, it's going to be a lot of money and you're not really going to realize. So money is something that you need to take into consideration. Now, money can be split down into a couple different things. Now, labor, parts, and resources. So if you're going to have to go out and rent all the tools or rent out a garage or stuff like that, that is all your resources that you're going to need to facilitate the build. Now, going into parts, it's very self-explanatory. You're going to need parts to get the car where you want it. Whether the car is in good shape when you get it or it's going to need a lot more work, you might be spending more money on performance parts or more money on restoration parts or engine parts. So depending on what stage you are at the build or where your starting point is, you're going to have to put more money into parts or not. So it all is build specific, but labor is the biggest determinant of how much money you can save. Here's why. If you're doing all the work yourself, then you won't have to outsource and pay labor costs to get certain things done. However, doing it this way will cause the build to last a lot longer. So doing it yourself, you may need to go to school, you may need to learn, you may need to research. There's going to be a lot more things that come into play when doing it yourself. So the time factor is going to be exponentially longer. If you're sending it out, they might be able to give you a time frame of a month to get everything done, but you're going to be paying for it. So that's kind of the difference between time and money. The last thing I want to talk about is how crazy you're going to go with the build. Now this might seem weird. I don't know if you guys understand where I'm coming from, but let me explain a little bit more. Whether you're starting a build with a car that's running or you're starting something that's just a chassis, whatever you're doing, I feel like you need to make sure that you're willing and you've really thought about it and done a lot of research on exactly what's entailed. Because there's people that will start something and they see it done in movies, they see it done on other YouTube channels, and they're like, oh, I could do this. It's not that hard. I mean, let's just go and buy a chassis for $1,500 and we'll start tearing it apart and ripping into it, and just we'll put a crazy big engine in it, and we'll do something, we'll boost it, whatever. But there's a lot more than that. I mean, even on our channel when we do our videos, I mean, sometimes we make it seem easier than it actually is with like editing. You can make smooth cuts and transitions and it make it seem like it was only done in like 15 minutes or whatever, or just a day, but it was actually done over a month's time. I mean, you are going to be misled in a certain ways like that. You can't really take everything you see at face value. So you want to make sure that you're ready and you're committed, and you're not gonna shy away from something when it gets too tough. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I had to face with the Datsun. Like, yes, it was expensive, yes, it took a lot of time, but I decided to do all the work myself, so I didn't have to really worry about labor costs. I mean, it was just certain parts. And I mean, there's a lot of people that commented on certain videos, well, why didn't you do this? Why don't you boost it? Why don't you redo all the wiring when you're in the actual doing the floor pans? And I mean, yes, it would be amazing. It would be awesome to take that time. But I mean, I want to have drive time. I don't want to have the car being out for another whole year. I want to enjoy it, and at the same time, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time. I mean, you got to figure out exactly what you want, and then you got to figure out that balance. It's a balance between time and money. If you can figure that out and get the best of what you want, because ultimately you're doing this because you want something, so you better get what you want at the end of the day. I mean, it's gonna take time though, and that's my mentality. Is I don't really care when the car gets done, as long as I'm having a good time. Like, I don't want to freak out and be miserable the whole time. And I mean, there's people while I was doing the build and while they were coming over, like my friends and stuff and family, like, man, like, this car is taking forever. Like, it's never going to get done. It's just been sitting. Like, there's no progress being done on it. I mean, it takes a lot mentally when you're doing something to not get discouraged. I mean, there were times in the build too where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to sell this car. Like, I don't care. Like, this is too much. Like, I can't handle this no more. But I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, I had to just be like, I'm already here. I'm already there. How much further do I have to go? Like, I'm not going to throw all this time, all this effort, and all my passion for the car. Like, I love the car. I'm not going to I can't throw that away now. So you gotta stay determined, but there are some things that you have to think about, and I feel like a lot of people just jump in. So just don't jump in. Make sure you do your research, and I hope you guys like this video. We'll see you guys next week. Stay classy, crew.